book lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today to talk about my most anticipated book releases for the second half of the year. If you didn't know, this is a 7 on Sunday topic, and I am the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out and you can participate in a topic in the future, or you can suggest a topic. Pretty much this week's topic is about pumping you up for the second half of the year. I am super pumped up right now as I'm filming this video. I cannot wait for every single one of these book releases to come out. I do acknowledge that we did do a most anticipated releases of the year at the very beginning of the year. However, the reason why I decided to do a mid-year one as well is because sometimes we pick up new anticipated releases along the way. I've definitely picked up many new anticipated releases along the way. In fact, every single one of these anticipated releases that I'm going to mention today, I did not mention in my first video that I made at the very beginning of the year. I will link that video in the iCards if you do want to check it out, because those books I'm still very much excited about, because some of them happen to also come out in the second half of the year. However, I do have to say that just as much as I'm excited for those, I'm also excited for the ones I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm going to split this into a few parts. I'm going to talk about a few romance contemporaries I'm excited about. I'm going to talk about a few series starters that I'm very much looking forward to. And then I'm going to go on to sequels of book series that I'm currently following and sequels of book series that I do want to follow. There's a good variety here, so I guess without further ado, we're going to talk about those today. First of all, I want to bring up Here for the Right Reasons by Jodi McAllister. This book is actually going to be released in the first week of the second half of the year. I believe it comes out on the 5th of July, and I am very much anticipating this book. Pretty much, if you don't know who Jodi McAllister is, she is the author of the Valentine trilogy, which is a trilogy that I've raved about on my channel and I do highly recommend. Jodi is also an Australian author, so represent. But I'm not just looking forward to this book because I love Jodi, I'm also looking forward to this book because this romance book takes place on a reality TV show setting, and it very much gives me the vibes of The Charm Offensive, which was another romantic comedy I absolutely enjoyed this year and I do highly recommend. It's giving me those vibes. I'm really hoping it pulls on my heartstrings just as much. I'm so looking forward to it. The second and final adult romantic contemporary that I've got to bring up on this list is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I only just finished The Love Hypothesis in time to film this video. I wanted to read The Love Hypothesis in the lead up to Love on the Brain to kind of see as to like whether I would pick up Love on the Brain or not. I can say with confidence that I definitely do want to pick up Love on the Brain. Also in the lead up to that, I do want to read the Steminist novellas, which take place in the same universe. I just love the way that Ali Hazelwood wrote The Love Hypothesis, and if this is anything like The Love Hypothesis, then sign me up. I am there. Now I bring up a couple of series starters that fall under the fantasy paranormal genres. The first out of the two that I've got to bring up is When Stars Come Out by Scarlett St. Clair. The name sounds familiar because Scarlett St. Clair is the author of A Touch of Darkness, and she's also the author of the Adrian and Isolde series. However, this I believe was her debut novel, and it's actually getting republished, but also I believe that there's extra bonus material, or it's just been somewhat reworked slash rewritten because it has been picked up by a publisher, which is very much exciting. I'm very much looking forward to checking this out because this debut was also a young adult book. I'm not necessarily as into young adult as I was back in the day. I mean, I still do read young adult fantasy. However, I am intrigued in this book. I think specifically because I've only experienced Scarlett St. Clair write new adult fiction. Very much looking forward to seeing her style in a young adult setting. And the second of the series starters that I have to bring up on this list today is Court of the Vampire Queen by Katee Roberts. Now, I got into the Wicked Villains saga by Katee Roberts. I've not finished it yet, but I'm so looking forward to continue. I've got so many other of Katee Roberts' books to read. This book in particular, I've been looking forward to. And the Bookish Box, aka Darkly, they're planning to do a special edition of it as well, and I am planning to jump on that at this moment. This is a Katee Roberts novel, and it has vampires. I have not yet experienced that combination. However, I'm very much looking forward to it. Now I'm going to move on to some sequels of some books that I am currently following. First of all, I want to bring up The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. This is the sequel to The Atlas 6. As I'm filming this video, I kind of devoured The Atlas 6, like from start to finish. today, and I don't know how to carry on with my life. I'm very much looking forward to The Atlas Paradox. I'm so excited to see where this series is heading. I love the characters in this series. I'm very much also looking forward to rereading The Atlas 6 for when we get closer to The Atlas Paradox, because as soon as I finished The Atlas 6 today, I instantly wanted to reread it, but I had to stop myself because I have more books on my TBR to read. The Atlas 6, in my opinion, was incredibly enjoyable, and just the fact that all the characters were distinguishable and I didn't get lost one time while following multiple POVs. I think that that is a very rare gift when it comes to book writing. Olivia Blake pretty much nailed it with the Atlas 6. I'm very much looking forward to seeing where the Atlas Paradox takes us. I hope that it is more plot driven, because I do love the character driven style of the Atlas 6. However, I feel like a lot of us readers do kind of collectively agree when we say that we wish that there was more plot. The next anticipated sequel I've got to bring up on this list is Eclipse the Moon by Jessie Mihalik. This is the sequel, and I believe the finale, to the Hunt the Stars duology, or Starlight Shadow duology. I think that's the actual duology name. I read Hunt the Stars a few weeks back. I absolutely enjoyed it. It's very rare that I find like a good adult science fiction romance space opera that doesn't necessarily involve like alien smut. I think a lot of people have been commenting on that, and they are kind of like praising Jessie Mihalik for giving us another niche. I also need to know what happens after Hunt the Stars, because we cannot be done with that world yet. I'm just so happy that at least we're getting a sequel in this world. I believe it comes out, I don't know, October or November, so not necessarily too long to go, but it couldn't come soon enough. The next sequel that I'm anticipating this year is Daughters of the Dawn, and this is the sequel to Sisters of the Snake. I read Sisters of the Snake sometime, I believe, in March or April, and I was pleasantly surprised by that book because I just originally purchased it on Black Friday from Owl Crate. I did enjoy the cover, that's why I purchased it essentially. I just enjoyed the fact that it was a special edition book. However, when I finally read it, I realized that it was an incredible story and a lot of people are sleeping on it. This series so far is completely underrated. I would highly recommend you check out Sisters of the Snake if you haven't checked it out yet, because it's a Prince and the Pauper reimagining. It's done with its own unique style and with its own unique flavor. I couldn't praise this book enough. It is just very well written, very entertaining, and I need to know what happens next. So Daughters of the Dawn is gonna give me some answers. I feel like Sisters of the Snake is kind of a good, satisfactory book. However, there is one thing that has been left unresolved. So we're gonna find out what happens next later on this year. And the next sequel that I am anticipating this year has got to be Lore Olympus Volume 2. I only recently read Lore Olympus Volume 1. Finally, I put it on my 5-star predictions list and it was a 5-star read. So I'm really happy I predicted right. Lore Olympus is incredible, but I feel like the first volume did not have as much story as I wanted it to. But that makes sense because it's only Volume 1. Volume 2 has got to come next, and it's got to come in hot. It's got to satisfy me as much as it possibly can. I mean, I should probably go on Webtoon and actually read the entire Webtoon. However, I don't know, I think I just enjoy reading it in physical format. I think it's because I'm very much used to reading manga that way as well. I just need more of this version of Hades and Persephone in my life. They are absolutely cute and so wholesome. And the last sequel I've got to bring up from series that I'm currently following, that I'm very much anticipating, is A Light in the Flame by Jennifer L. Armentrout. War of Two Queens did not necessarily turn out amazing for me. However, I don't necessarily have doubts for A Light in the Flame. I very much enjoy Seraphina's and Nyctos' story. I love their dynamic so much. As much as a lot of people feel like the first book is slow, I found that it really built the relationship between the two main characters, but we are still in the stages where they're not necessarily like endgame yet. I mean, we'll see, we'll see. Cannot wait for A Light in the Flame. This is definitely one of my most anticipated reads of the year. Now we move on to sequels of series that I do want to follow, but I'm not currently following at the moment. And first of all, I'm gonna start off with a companion sequel. This is a companion sequel in the Entangled with Fae series by Tessandra Odette, and it's called A Taste of Poison. This is a Snow White reimagining set within the Fair Isle / Entangled with Fae world. I do want to read the Entangled with Fae companion series. They're kind of fairy tale reimaginings, but they're told in the world of the Fair Isle trilogy, which is a trilogy that I have read and I absolutely loved and adored. This book, I believe, is the 4th book in the series. I don't know whether it's going to be the final book or whether the series is just going to continue and Tessandra is just gonna pump out more books in this world. I would appreciate that. I think that that would be really cool, but it's definitely one that I'm going to be looking out for. I've got the rest of the books on my shelf and I cannot wait to read them, and hopefully there'd be some good Fair Isle Easter eggs in there because I love the Fair Isle trilogy so much and I will read anything that Tessandra Odette puts in that world. I also have to mention A Curse of Blood and Stone by K.A. Tucker. This is the sequel to A Fate of Wrath and Flame, which is a book that I put on my 5-star predictions TBR, but I have not yet read. I'm very much looking forward to reading this series. I don't know whether it is a duology or if it's a trilogy or whether the series is just going to be like continuous, like ongoing. A lot of the time when when I think about Kindle Unlimited releases, they never usually come out yearly. However, the series is coming out yearly. We haven't really received too much news on this series, so I wouldn't really have too much of a clue. However, I'm definitely looking forward to starting the series because I'm not gonna lie, I have very high expectations for the first book because I hear that the first book is incredible. And the second last book that I've got to bring up on my most anticipated releases today has got to be The Dragon's Promise by Elizabeth Lim. This is the sequel to Six Crimson Cranes. That is a book that I wanted to read last year. I can confidently say that I love Elizabeth Lim's writing because I have read The Blood of Stars duology. That duology is incredible, and this duology is a spin-off from that duology. I just felt like I wanted to binge read the two books. For some reason, I was intimidated by reading Six Crimson Cranes on its own. I just thought to myself, you know, I should probably wait closer to the release of The Dragon's Promise, and so that's what I've done. The Dragon's Promise is literally coming out within the next couple months, so I guess it's about time I read Six Crimson Cranes to let you guys know how I go with that and see how the binge read is gonna go, essentially. Final most anticipated release of this year is actually, I believe, a finale to a trilogy. That, my friends, is a book called Raven Unveiled. This book is the final book in the Fallen Empire trilogy by Grace Draven. Grace Draven is the author of the Wraith Kings duology, which is a duology that I recently read and I absolutely loved and adored. And I just know that I want to look out for more of her releases. And I heard that she's coming out with a new book and this is going to be the final book within this trilogy. So I really want to binge read this trilogy. I believe that this final book comes out in November, so sometime around then I'll get all the books, I'll binge read the trilogy, and I'll let you guys know if it's worth the hype, if it's better than Wraith Kings, or if it's just as good as Wraith Kings. I have no doubt that it could potentially be just as good. Grace Draven is an amazing writer. I mean, Wraith Kings was enough to prove that for me. I cannot wait to read more from her, so this is definitely a release that I'm looking out for. That is going to be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me the heart eye smiley face emoji. I'm excited for these anticipated releases. I hope you are too. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. Matt G Swizzle Books on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. Matt G Swizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it in a double. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.